Lust is both sinful and a serious offense to God. James chapter 1 verse 14 to 15 says, "But each person is tempted when lured and enticed by their own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death." Lust, whether sexual or otherwise, can lead to sin, which leads to death. So, how can we as believers challenge the problem of lust? Jesus said to remove whatever is causing or leading to the particular lust. In the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 29 to 30, Jesus used an extreme example to communicate this point. "If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell." Now, this doesn't necessarily mean to remove our body parts in the literal sense. Rather, Jesus taught to remove the barriers leading to lust. For some, this may mean a particular internet filter to block pornography. For another person, it may mean not watching particular movies or going to a specific location in town. One of the reasons we are dragged away by temptation is that we become enticed. That word in the Greek refers to bait, as on a fishing line. When a fish sees the wiggling worm, he is enticed by it and grabs hold. Once the hook is set, he can be dragged away. When we encounter temptation, we should immediately reject it, as Joseph did in Genesis chapter 39 when he was tempted by Potiphar's wife. Hesitation opens the door to enticement. Romans 13 verse 14 calls such hesitation making provision for the flesh. Like the unwary fish, we grab hold of the tempting thought, believing it will delight and fulfill us. We savor the fantasy, imagine new and sinful scenarios, and entertain the idea that God has not provided all we need for happiness, as written in Genesis chapter 3. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 22 says to flee youthful lusts. To flee means to take off immediately. Joseph did not stick around to consider his options. He recognized sexual temptation, and he ran. When we hesitate, we make provision for the flesh and give it the opportunity to choose evil. Often we are overwhelmed by its power. The book of Judges illustrates that Samson was a physically strong man, yet he was no match for his own lust. Lust begins as a seed, a thought packed with wrong desire. If we allow the seeds of lust to germinate, they will sprout into something bigger, more powerful, more difficult to uproot. Temptation becomes sin when it is allowed to germinate. Desire takes on a life of its own and becomes lust. In the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 27, Jesus makes it clear that lust is sin, even if we do not physically act on it. Our hearts are God's domain, and when we allow evil to grow there, we defile his temple. Wrong desires plague every human being. The 10th commandment forbids coveting, which means lusting for something that is not ours. The human heart is constantly seeking to please itself, and when it discovers something or someone it believes will satisfy, lust begins. It is only when our hearts are dedicated to the glory of God that we can overcome intrusive desires and defeat lust. When we surrender to the Lord, we find our needs met in a relationship with Him. If our heart's desire is to please God more than ourselves, we can keep lust at bay.